Welcome to The Explainer. Today we've got a really cool story of transformation. It's about how one university course didn't just teach someone about research, but actually completely changed how they see the entire world.
So this quote, it comes from our guide for this journey, Damar Singh Saud, and he describes what he went through as a literary tapestry. We're going to follow his story as he takes on this advanced research course, a course that, as it turns out, taught him about way more than just academic stuff. It taught him about the very fabric of human experience.
And we're talking about a serious commitment here. This wasn't just, a handful of lectures. It was a 17-session scholarly expedition, as he calls it. Basically, an intellectual deep dive into this field that looks at the really complex stories that make us who we are.
Which brings us to the big question, right? The same one that our hero, Saud, had to figure out for himself. What is qualitative research really? I mean, what is this thing that goes beyond just numbers to try and understand the rich, messy, meaningful stuff of life? Okay, let's dive in and start at the beginning of his journey.
So the journey kicks off by entering what Saud himself calls a labyrinthian world, a total maze. And to get through it, he first had to get a handle on the absolute basics, the very foundations of how we even begin to ask questions and find answers about human life.
And right away, you hit this major fork in the road. On one side, you've got quantitative research. That's all about the numbers, the measurements. But on the other side, there's qualitative research, which is more like a lens. Its goal is to explore the why and the how behind everything we experience. It's all about digging into the stories and the meanings that, numbers just can't touch.
And here's where things get really interesting for Saud. He had this aha moment where he realized that research doesn't just have to be about watching from the sidelines. He learned that this kind of work can have what's called an emancipatory interest. That's a fancy way of saying it can be a legit tool for social justice, something that can actively help empower voices that are often ignored.
Okay, so once he had that philosophical groundwork down, the next part of his journey was all about getting the right tools for the job. The actual methods you need to unlock, capture, and really make sense of all the complex human stories out there.
Tool number one in the toolkit: narrative inquiry. Now, this isn't just about collecting cute little anecdotes. This approach treats personal stories as incredibly rich, valuable data. For Saud, it was like he'd suddenly discovered a whole new language, a way to talk about the true depth of someone's life experience. Now, if narrative inquiry is like a close-up on one person's story, ethnography is like pulling the camera back. It broadens the lens. Saud's description is perfect. He calls it stepping into a vibrant cultural tapestry. It's all about immersing yourself in a culture or a community to see how it works from the inside out.
And then there's autoethnography, which completely flips the script. It turns that research lens right back on the researcher. So your own journey, your own experiences and thoughts, that becomes the data. You use your personal story to shine a light on some bigger cultural thing. It's a really powerful way to connect your own life to what's happening in the world. All right, now we get to what might be the most philosophical tool of them all, phenomenology. This is a real deep dive. It's trying to get to the absolute essence of an experience. It's asking that fundamental question, what is it actually like to be in that moment, to live through that thing? It's all about understanding what the philosopher Heidegger called being in the world.
So, now he's armed with all these powerful new tools and ways of thinking, and the journey moves into its final stage, the big test. He calls it the crucible. This is where all that theory, all those methods have to be hammered and forged into one single solid research plan. And believe me, this wasn't just about sitting down and writing a paper. No way. It was this intense, multi-step process. First, you have to decode the data to find the patterns hiding inside. Then you've got to navigate the super important ethical side of things. I mean, you're dealing with people's real stories. And finally, you put all the puzzle pieces together and get it peer-reviewed, so others can help you make it even better.
And that right there is such a key point. This kind of deep, meaningful work, it's almost never done alone in some isolated bubble. Saud puts it so well. He said the feedback he got from his peers was like a sculptor's chisel. It was what shaped and refined his rough ideas into something polished and strong.
So after those 17 intense sessions, the expedition was over. But here's the thing. Damar Singh Soo didn't just walk away with a final project tucked under his arm. Nope. He walked away with a completely new pair of eyes, a totally new way of seeing the world.
And that is the real transformation we're talking about. It was never just about learning a bunch of research methods. It was about gaining the skill to truly listen, to respect that life is complicated, and to connect in a meaningful way with the stories that define people's lives, and, by extension, our entire world.
So you might be thinking, okay, why does one person's journey through a grad school course matter to me? Well, it matters because this whole approach to understanding things is so important. It gives us a lens to see the world in all its color, not just black and white. It respects complexity. It gives a platform to stories that might otherwise just disappear. And it reminds us that real discovery isn't just about finding facts. It's about growing as a person, too.
So, we'll leave you with this final thought. Let's turn that research lens away from the academic and point it right back at ourselves, at you. What are the big themes in your life? The turning points, the moments that really define things for you? If your life were the research project, what story would it tell?